Welcome to Sohan's neighborhood, where casuals become diehards.
Bill Belichick said this best, and the one thing is, though we're not in the playoffs, we're just ahead of other teams for offseason and next season. That was the one thing he always said after a championship. We're just behind everybody else for next season. Always that forward mentality, and that's what we got to have. And an ESPN Plus article highlighting why the NBA's 10 lottery-bound teams have reasons for hope. Obviously, we're one of those teams in the lottery, and we're obviously one of those teams who should have massive hope, maybe more than anybody else. But last month, Tim Bontemps ranked the Spurs as the best rebuilding situation, and for good reason. Of course, we have Victor Wembanyama, who took steps forward this year from his rookie year and even played at a higher level, and he's only going to ascend from this year and in his career because he is so young and so talented. He was going to be an All-NBA member. Of course, he was going to be the Defensive Player of the Year. Now it's looking like maybe Evan Mobley, Draymond Green. I know people are voting for Zubac, Dyson Daniels. There's people, but we knew it was going to be Wemby. It was Wemby's award to lose, and he wasn't going to lose it. But obviously, if he returns to full strength next season, which looks like there's a good chance of that happening, I spoke on an earlier video. He said that he is not ahead nor behind schedule. He is right on time with schedule, and I know the schedule was looking like he was going to be able to play in the Eurobasket tournament. I hope that he's able to do such a thing because I think that'll be good to get him back in his rhythm. But the San Antonio Spurs are in a great position. So do a few of his teammates, notably Stephon Castle, likely the Rookie of the Year. He's like minus 1,500, minus 2,000 to bet him right now. He should win it. And obviously, we've got De'Aaron Fox. We've got the big three nucleus, who offers Wemby a prime pick-and-roll partner for years to come, pick-and-roll and pick-and-pop with the way Wemby can shoot it. But there's a reason Fox requested a trade to a team ranked below his Sacramento Kings in the standings. He knew the Spurs looked like the NBA's brightest young team on the rise. I mean, how could we not? We've got Wemby. Got Stephon Castle. We've got Devin Vassell. We've got Jeremy Sohan. We got Keldon Johnson. Obviously, Harrison Barnes is older. Chris Paul is older, but they're still on the roster for a good veteran presence. We've got Greg Popovich. We understand he's been out with the mild stroke, but he is still in the fold of the San Antonio Spurs organization, and I don't see that going anywhere. Depends on what capacity he's going to be there next year. But we have all of that. Plus, we have a bevy of picks, even with the De'Aaron Fox trade. We're still on the rise. We're going to have lottery picks this year. We could get someone like Con Knippel who can actually come in, benefit us right away. Obviously, we don't know how high we could get up. We could get up to the top 5, top 3. It's the lottery. It's not like it's the NFL draft where you get slotted based off your record. But the state of the roster right now, let's focus in on the long-term prospects. Obviously, it's Wemby, Fox, Vassell, and Castle. That's your big four right now. Vassell could be a trade piece coming forward, depending on what we do with Kevin Durant. Obviously, there's been high speculation there. We're one of the favorites to land them up there with Miami and the Golden State Warriors. I think we're top 3 according to one. Was it Shams? Maybe Shams. But obviously Fox is eligible to extend, and he's already talked about extending. He wants that extension. He wants that to get done this summer, and I think they're going to get it done this summer. But we traded for 4 firsts to acquire Fox, but they weren't pivotal firsts. We still have the Hawks first in 2025. I believe we still have the Hawks first in 2027. We've got a pick swap with Dallas in 2030, which is obviously 5 years away, but that's something to highlight with them not having Luka now. AD is going to be 36 at that time. Kyrie is going to be 37. Klay Thompson's going to be 36. 2 or 3 of them all cannot be in the league depending on what their injury history looks like and what they want to be. So if Dallas doesn't hit in the next couple of years, they could be in a situation where that looks like a lottery pick and we don't know what kind of talent's going to be in 9th grade right now. So we'll see what's going on. But they have rights to swap with Atlanta in 26, and they do have the Hawks pick in 2027. So they have 6 firsts in the next 8 years and multiple picks swaps in 7 second-round picks. So we've got a bevy of picks. The picks were not really a big deal for us. And we go into the offseason finances. We have $143 million in salary and are over the cap with factoring in both first-round picks. Besides the ability to extend Fox and draft 2 players in the first round, the Spurs will have access to $14.1 non-tax and $5.1 million biannual exceptions. We've got money. We've got plenty of money. We're not worried about it. We're not paying many people. We're paying Fox. We're going to pay him more. We're paying Vassell. We're lightly playing Chris Paul. We're lightly paying Harrison Barnes. Like, we are in a position where we're going to be fine. And, I mean, when you have a guy like this right now, we aren't paying him. That's the Rookie of the Year. 14.5, close to 15. 15, 4-4 if you're rounding up. 15, 4-4 in your rookie year. We've got that. He's not making much money. 16 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, coming off of an injury, didn't get his footing until probably around February. And then he started to get his footing and look like the Devin Vassell we expected. This guy, De'Aaron Fox, 23, 5, and 6, going to be getting his money. And then there's this guy, 24, 11, 4, and 4. That is our big four, and that's what we have to look forward to for this team and for this season. Like, how are we not in a position that's so advantageous? Which is why big things are coming. We have off-season moves to make. We can go big, and we could obviously go big fish hunting. You can go Giannis maybe talking about with the way their season could possibly end. Obviously, there's Kevin Durant talks out there. There are talks for people who you could get. And then there's obviously the Cam Johnson who would fit with this roster perfectly. You could draft Khan if he's at the position where we can, who would fit this team perfectly. If you want to move off of a sell and get a guy like a Mikal Bridges type, not him specifically, but that 3-and-D more so guy who could fit along, that could be something you do there too. There are going to be people in free agency who want to play with Wemby, who we have the money to go get. We're just in such a position where the world wants to play with us. We don't need to go try to reach out to the world. People will come calling. We obviously saw what De'Aaron Fox wanted. De'Aaron Fox saw this situation and wanted to be here. Chris Paul could have been in any situation. The Lakers could have asked for him to be, okay, let's be a backup to Austin Reeves and LeBron James. This obviously they didn't have Luka at this time, so let's run the pick and roll with AD. All these championship teams, the Bucks back up Lillard, so if Lillard goes down, because he's obviously had an injury history, you have a point guard there. He wanted to come to San Antonio. Why? Because we have such a great nucleus, and he knew he could be a part of something great. But the top front office priority, new contract for Fox. That needs to happen. We don't want anything weird going on. Obviously, we know he declined his option in Sacramento, partially because he knew he would be due more money this offseason, and partially because he didn't want to have to hamstring himself and lock himself into into Sacramento for a while, so he could come to San Antonio and lock himself in there for a while. And if Pop doesn't return, we don't. It's not a PSA, but Mitch Johnson, as I've liked you and portions of you as a head coach, I think there are better head coaches out there. There's a head coaching carousel. Obviously, Bud's out there. Monty Williams is out there. Becky Hammond might be out there. I know she has a 2-year contract left, but I bet if she had an NBA opportunity instead of her WNBA opportunity, with that season kind of ending at the beginning of the basketball season, there's a chance there. There's multiple people that are out there that could be interesting. And that quote at the bottom there that you see, there was no list, Fox said, in regarding the trade. The one team I wanted was San Antonio. We know.
A lot of optimism.
Yeah, and also have to mention, Devin, Jeremy, and Charles Bassey, were robbed because of injuries of having the seasons they might have had from start to finish. And so they had that to deal with as well. It's pretty noteworthy that they won 34 games with all of that going on. It's an accomplishment, and they were proud of it, and they should be proud of it. And, as Mitch Johnson said several times, playing off something Pop preached to, the staff, the organization for years, I guess, is that everything you do at the current moment is going to hopefully pay off down the road at some point. And they're hoping that this season, getting through the adversity and coming together, helping to build camaraderie and so forth and so on will pay off down the road. And it like I said, I think it was a pretty noteworthy achievement for them to win 34 games, considering all that happened.
I'll tell you what, give them a full season of Charles Bassey, and that's a playoff team.
Yeah, I know. I hear what you're
working until June.
I hear what you're saying, but the lack of rebounding, with Victor out, with Bassey out, that really hurt them. They won 11 games without Victor. They probably win a little more. They have a little more rebounding. That's my point. I'm not overstating.
What's your point, Tom? What's your point?
Not overstating Charles Bassey's importance to the organization or the future, but yeah, it did hurt them that he was out as much as he was.
Well, when we were speaking in our podcast, generalities, kind of blowing smoke, some people say, to start the season. When you do this stuff, you talk about stuff like finding identity, finding out what you need, and a lot of times it's silliness. But in a way, everything that happened to the Spurs this year defined, like it brought into focus exactly what they do need this offseason, because they made the trade for De'Aaron Fox during the middle of the season. We weren't sure that was going to happen. And so they head into this offseason knowing now, I think we can all agree, that this team is built around a nucleus of Victor Wembanyama, who is the most hyped player of his generation, might be the best player of his generation. De'Aaron Fox, who is now the point guard of the present and the future, a proven all-star, a guy who is at the center of what the Spurs are building here, and Rookie of the Year Stephon Castle, who I think is, if he did anything this year, was prove that he is a key part of what the Spurs are building. That those are the three guys that you're building around. That everything that the Spurs do in the future is about those three guys being in the middle of a team that's trying to become a contender. They only had one of those guys to start the year 6 months ago. They did not know about Stephon Castle yet. They did not have De'Aaron Fox yet. So now they know that. They know that this offseason, rather than just a bunch of pieces, you need a bunch of pieces. We all knew that. Now they know specifically what they need. They need shooting and they need size behind Victor. And I think when you consider all of that, in addition to them getting the 34 victories that we thought they were going to get, like, that's a pretty successful thing. They got the 34 victories, they took their step forward, and they know exactly what they need this offseason to fill around their nucleus.
I think a lot of you, and even myself, don't think it's a good idea to trade for KD. The Spurs keep popping up day after day in these rumors, so we got to cover them for you. I want to talk about this here, of course. After the firing of Mike Budenholzer, there has been more and more coming out about Kevin Durant, with NBA Central tweeting this out. The Suns are expected to work with Kevin Durant and his business partner, Rich Kleiman, to find Durant's next landing spot, per Shams Charania. And look, we know Kevin Durant is on his way out of Phoenix, and if it wasn't sure, it's certainly sure now. It's happening. He's gone. Recently, the Houston Rockets are the favorites to land Kevin Durant. Look, I know Houston, they're whatever. They got some young players, and they're a pretty good team. I think he'd be a fit there. The Warriors, of course, they were linked to him around deadline, but Durant said he didn't want to go there. He didn't want to be traded, so I'm not so sure about that. And then the Spurs have the same odds as the Warriors. The Spurs are tied for the second highest odds to land Kevin Durant. And look, I know we talk about him a lot, but the fact is, this is still here, right? The betting odds, they have a way of knowing some things that sometimes the fans don't necessarily know. But we're going to move on to a guy that I think a lot of us do quite like. A guy that I've had my eye on for a while, back when he was in Boston, when he was on Team France. That's our boy Guerschon Yabusele. Now, there was a great article on Air Alamo from Jalil Williams that I'll link down below. Please go read it. Great article. Not going to dive into a bunch of the quotes. I want you guys to go read Jalil's article. Give him the credit he deserves. But he mentions the Spurs' perfect offseason starts by upgrading two backups for two beasts. And the crux of the article was talking about getting rid of Biyombo and getting rid of Charles Bassey. And I've been a big Biyombo fan, I gotta say. He fits in well, though I think we can all admit he's probably not the guy that's going to be fitting long-term in the future for San Antonio. Charles Bassey, I love him, but like the article kind of says, his time might just be over. He's great to have, like the guy, but I don't know. He doesn't seem to be that solid backup that we want for a long time. But you can see here, in the picture, he mentions a certain guy by the name of Guerschon Yabusele. Make this full screen again. Of course, he had a season with Philadelphia this year. He was actually shooting some threes, 38% from three, 50% from the field, 11.6 boards, 2 assists. He plays his role absolutely perfectly. He's a somewhat mobile, fairly mobile. I mean, we've seen how athletic he is. We all remember that dunk he had on Team USA when he was playing with Team France and Wemby. 6'8", 29 years old. He's a power big man. He's a power forward, but he can play some minutes at center. And when you're looking at the San Antonio Spurs, like, you just have to say, this is a perfect fit next to Victor Wembanyama. We've seen them bounce off each other very well. You go from Wembanyama, who does quite literally everything on the floor, but he's not really that kind of bruiser, to a guy like Yabusele, who's a very competent rebounder, a guy that's going to get some offensive rebounds. He's going to be physical with other guys. He's the kind of guy that it's almost like a whiplash when you go from guarding Wembanyama to guarding Guerschon Yabusele, right? This is the kind of guy that can make quite a big impact for the Spurs if he were to come to this team.
And first at 5, legendary Spurs head coach Greg Popovich recovering tonight after suffering another medical episode earlier this week. That is according to multiple reports. Our Mary Rominger joins us now here. Mary, Pop reportedly fainted while at a restaurant in San Antonio. That happened Tuesday. This is after, of course, he had that stroke that kept him from coaching all season. What do we know about this latest issue?
Well, we'll start with the good news, Myra. The reported medical episode that resulted in Popovich being taken to the hospital was not life-threatening, and Popovich Popovich is stable at home and doing fine. That was reported by ESPN's Shams Charania. This comes after the reason Coach Pop took a step back from coaching in the first place, which was back in November when he suffered a mild stroke, and Mitch Johnson has since fulfilled his head coaching duties. It's not clear at this point if Popovich's medical episode is related to that stroke. Now, the San Antonio Fire Department told us they responded to Ruth's Chris on Jones-Maltzberger Road Tuesday around 8:30 p.m. for a report of an elderly man who fainted at a table. The individual was transported as a precaution. Now, to be clear, SAFD did not confirm that that man was Greg Popovich. We'll have more on this as we continue to try to get questions answered, Myra, coming up later in the show in sports.
Yeah, you